Hey Niloy,
Hi, Shaer.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you for joining me for coffee. I'm good.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah. So, you've been with SELISE a long time, I think.
Yes, I think it has been almost 5 years. Yes, almost 5 years.
So, you started out as a business analyst, or?
Yes, I joined SELISE, I think, in 2017 as a business analyst, as you said. And then have been working here since then, but I took like a 1 year break in the middle. So I was doing my master's.
Right. Where?
Okay. So I was doing Erasmus program. So this was about public sector innovation and e-governance, it's called.
Okay.
So it's essentially using technology to improve public services. That's the topic. I was doing, so my university was in KU Leuven in Belgium.
Belgium. Okay.
So I took like a 1 year break then. Although I was working as external consultant for SELISE. So, I mean, you can count it as 5 years, I think.
Right.
In total. Yeah.
So, very experienced member of the SELISE family, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have like a 450 people right now. So when I joined, I think there were 70 people.
Right.
So,
huge
yeah,
room.
has been a long time.
So, you were in Europe and like you're working for a European company in like the tech sector.
Yeah.
What are some of the trends that you've seen in the past 5 years or so?
Back in 2017, I think the focus for most companies were that they are trying to digitize their processes. We're still calling it that, but essentially now the companies are moving more and more towards more advanced features. So for example, back then the focus was only that making processes paperless so that we don't have to use papers anymore.
Right.
Now we see that there are a lot of advanced processes that are being done through digital media. For example, you are doing signatures online right now. Inside the COVID
Electronic
times,
signatures, yeah.
yes,
Okay.
it became more and more prevalent. People are trying to do more predictive analytics. So they want more out of their data. So that's a big focus right now. Also, there is a blockchain technology, which is a big thing in financial services industry.
Right.
Yeah. So those are some, if I had to talk about some changes, those are definitely big ones.
Right. I think what you mentioned, the pandemic, especially, I think 2020 was actually that year where a lot of these things went digital, and businesses that used to operate in a way that, there would be contact, there would be communication, you would have representatives for almost anything. So for example, the banking, insurance, finance industries, you would have representatives going out and meeting their clients. But I think in 2020, all of that shifted to like a contactless mode. Right?
I think that although this whole paradigm came as a protective mechanism, like to sort of fight back against the pandemic, but at least I can say that for sure for the financial industry. But I also think that it is true for many industries that we have realized a lot can be done remotely by using digital technology.
Right.
So now that people are doing electronic signatures, people are thinking that why did we ever do like this?
Handwritten signatures. Yeah.
Now that people are filing their contracts online, now they're thinking, why did we ever do it through paper? So this pandemic, while it was very unfortunate event for a lot of reasons that we all know of, it did push many industries towards this
digitalization.
Paradigm. Yes. Yeah. Okay. And now we see that companies are continuing that journey as fast as they can, because they have realized that that's operationally and in every way possible probably better in a lot of use cases.
What if we talk about, I think the insurance industry is like one of your special focuses.
Yeah.
Because you used to head up the Insurtech business unit of SELISE. So talk us through about some of the changes you've seen in the insurance industry.
Well, I mean, for the insurance industry, it is sort of the similar that I was talking about before. Like when I started, it was more of a like bringing processes to a paperless format. But now we are going towards more and more advanced processes where we can do more with digital technology. However, the insurance industry is a bit different from financial technology, mostly because that people get exposed to financial services a bit more. Like if we put aside like the insurance thing outside the financial services boundary, which technically it isn't, but if we do that. So people who are not buying insurances don't really know much about insurances. There are like many different types of them.
Home insurance, personal.
The common ones like life insurances, car insurances, the people know, and there are many other insurances like pet insurance. And if you're going out,
there's pet insurance.
Yes, it's a very popular one.
Right, so you can insure your dog or cat
Okay. I mean, you get it as an add-on when you are, let's say, buying travel insurance.
Right.
So they will ask you that whether you have a pet. Do you want to insure that pet?
Right. Makes sense.
So that's coming. And also at the organizational level, you will see there is like employee benefits insurance, which we have worked a lot with.
Right.
Had the opportunity to do that. And I mean, in this domain, people are thinking about everything in a new way because insurance is a very highly regulated industry. There are a lot of standards and you have to always meet those standards, and usually there are like governing bodies. We are also working with some of the governing bodies as well to understand those standards better. And there are many interesting things that are going on that are not absolutely apparent in the insurance industry either, where digital technology can have a large impact.
Right.
So, for example, I can tell you that there is this concept called risk pooling.
Okay.
So this is designed for, so the basic idea is that you share your overall risk with multiple, multiple
entities.
Units or entities. Yeah. So how it brings benefits, if I had to go a bit more detailed into it. So let's say you have a company which has 20 employees. So these guys were having trouble to get benefits for their employees because you have like very few number of employees, and
so the risk is higher for the company.
Risk is higher for the company, generally speaking, and also it's harder to sort of assess what should be the premium and all of that stuff. Compared to that, if you have like 500 employees, you get a lot of more benefits.
It's a larger company. Expected to be more successful over time.
Also, you get more data, and you can also analyze that. Okay, out of 500 people, probably one will take some.
At least.
So what we saw previously, before this whole process was introduced, what we saw is that larger companies were getting a lot of discounts from insurance companies, but the smaller companies were not, because of these reasons.
Okay.
So this is why insurance...
So discounts on premiums, right?
Premiums, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Lower discounts, lower premiums, generally speaking.
Right.
So what we saw is that this gave birth to the risk pooling concept. So what would happen is that, let's say, 5 small companies with 20 employees would come together and they would buy one insurance package together. So then
instead of 20 employees each, you have 100 for the same.
That is sort of addressing the problem of having fewer employees.
Right.
And what we have worked with extensively is the global multinational insurance pooling. So I will explain what that would mean is that, let's say you have a multinational company with offices in 15 countries. And some of the countries are, let's say in Europe, those are more socioeconomically developed. And some of them would be a bit less developed. So what would happen is that in the more developed countries, you have less risk of, let's say, health claims being filed by the employees. And in less developed countries, you would have more claims. But then again, conversely, the developed country employees would have more purchasing power. So they would pay higher,
spend more,
willing to pay higher premiums, where in a less developed country, they would not have that purchasing power. So
where do you offer better, lower premiums?
So if a headquarter, like let's say Nestle, which have a lot of offices in many countries, so they want to, let's say, offer a very standard package for all of their employees in all of the countries. It becomes very difficult for them, right? Because they would see that if
they have a office in Germany, if they have an office in, let's say, Bangladesh, the insurance premiums
would differ, and also claims percentage would differ, how many claims are being made, so how much money they would have to put there would differ. So individually, these country subsidiaries would struggle to maintain those insurances
across the board.
If they had to provide the similar level of benefits. as Nestle headquarters is asking for.
Right.
So multinational global pooling sort of solves this problem. What they would do is that they would have one pool for 15 countries and all of them would come together in one pot of, let's say, money from where all the premiums are being calculated and also, distributed. So this is a risk sharing model that multinationals use. So
within the company,
like one company. There are multi-client pools as well. Sometimes two companies would come together and do this kind of pools. But more common is at the multinational level, you would see one pool for one company. So that would happen more.
So your work necessarily facilitates that.
Yes, we have actually done quite a bit of work in this area. So as you can understand that these kind of operations require a lot of collaboration between many entities.
Located in different countries.
You have like insurance companies that are there in Bangladesh, and then you have a subsidiary company of that headquarter inside Bangladesh. They both are communicating with the headquarters, like multinational headquarters, let's say in France. Communicating with that. So we are facilitating those. When there is a contract, this information can be very easily sent to the headquarters so that they can
contract management.
Yes, a lot of contract management. And also what we see is that inside the pool, when you are doing these risk assessments, there are a lot of involvement from actuaries. Lots of
data analysis.
Yes, a lot of computations going in. So previously what we saw in the industry was that they were still using sort of disconnected desktop systems. For example, you were doing sort of calculations. Doing calculations with Excel, then copy pasting that inside another application to do simulation, then getting all of those data and putting it in another Excel, then transferring it to PDF and then sending it to customers.
Right. Would you say these are all like different points of failure? Like if there were, like if you make a mistake in copying it, or like if a cell moves.
Even more so than that, I think that if you look at the average pay for different kinds of employees, then actuaries kind of come at the top.
Right.
So they're like one of the highest paid professions ever. So if you are asking an actuary to go inside, copy paste data from Excel, and
it's tedious work.
Yes, they're not very happy, first of all. And second of all,
but they make a lot of money.
Yes, that's true. But they don't want to like copy those things,
of course.
Do that. And also for the companies, it is more costly because they will probably have to hire more than they should. So a typical process like that, let's say a company asks for a quotation from a insurance pool, that would take around 2 weeks.
Right.
In the most standard process.
Right.
Like you are doing this copy pasting, like disconnected systems. In our application, one of the what we have done is that we have brought this whole thing under 1 minute. Now we can.
So from 2 weeks to 1 minute.
Yes. So we have like connected 3 different systems. We have provided computation system for the actuaries, so they can go inside and do their calculations inside the application. That application is again is accessible for the customers as well, and sending automatic emails, all of this stuff. So all this to say, as you were saying, that what kind of work do we do in the insurance industry? So this is a very classic example because you will see a lot of optimization here, and suddenly something that required 2 weeks and annoyed people are very happy because they have like a written formula once and it is like just running all the time. If there is an exception, they can just deal with that. And as I say, most of the time it's just below 1 minute. Now they can do that.
Right. So this is all very interesting. Do you find this to be what like motivates you? Because this is something that I feel like, since you're optimizing something that I think like insurance industry is how old? Like
many years old.
Right.
I think it started with like sea voyage insurance or something.
Right.
If like a sea, like,
so like sailors.
Exactly. It started.
So
late 1800s.
like the monarchy, like but different like kingdoms would insure the ships
late
that
1800s,
are exploring.
That's when it started.
So it started from there, but you're also like at the forefront of innovating in this really old industry, right?
I hope so.
Is that what motivates you, or is there something else?
There is definitely interesting aspects there. At least when I started, these things excited me a lot. And because I talked to clients and they told me that, oh, we have this problem. These guys are annoyed. We are making a lot of mistakes here. Can you find a solution where we can do it better? And when we could actually do it, clients were really thankful to us. And they would say that, you must come to our office. Let's talk together because you have really solved the pain point for us.
Right.
So that was exciting. With time, I think that what I have understood in the whole financial services industry, the current modus operandi is sort of designed based on paper money.
Right.
It's the whole system. Like you have a bank, you have ATMs, you have insurance contracts, you give people cash or checks and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
If you think about money in general, you will see that money is a construct. So how I see it is that digital technology essentially can replace this whole system, and you have the opportunity to rethink this whole industry.
Right.
Because this whole system was built on the assumption that the count of value was being kept through paper money. But it's just a count. So you can do that digitally as well.
So you're talking about blockchain, right?
That actually
one of them.
Yes, that actually gives birth to the idea of blockchain, using blockchain in financial industry. So what they're doing is that they're trying to make an immutable ledger. And if you have an immutable ledger, that is essentially the same as having cash money, right? It's the same thing, just a different media. So you can essentially redesign the whole thing, although the companies would not do that.
What about security though? If you think of paper money, there is we see all of these regulations in place that protect the value of that piece of paper, right? So there is that security aspect,
right.
So how do you translate that to
there has been many technological strides in that direction. I mean, obviously, as I was saying, that companies would not overhaul their financial services overnight. They would gradually move towards that, and we can see that a lot of companies are adopting new technologies right now. So one of the things that you mentioned is the security aspect. Obviously, it falls onto us as a technology provider that we are absolutely robust in terms of our software architecture. As in SELISE, we have many standards, like SELISE Blocks always follows the latest security standards that are provided by big companies like Microsoft. We're following those things. But even beyond that, if you look at blockchain technology, which is being adopted for this particular reason, to make things secure and sort of decentralize the control. And what I mean by that is that if a server is being owned by one particular company, they have the power to tamper with your data, right? That's a big concern in financial industries. So if you have blockchain technology and if you have immutable ledger that is being verified all over the world with unknown people, unknown nodes, then those kind of problems get solved. Although we have seen breaches in blockchain technology as well, mainly in the entry point. But the last couple of years, we have actually come up with technology. Not we have, but the world has come up with technologies that are sort of preventing those.
Right.
And I'm very hopeful that at a certain point of time, we can get to a position where these kind of transactions are absolutely secure. And I mean, more secure than doing transactions through papers and paper money, generally speaking, because there you have also physical threats that are always there.
Of course, as a highly regulated industry, in the real world, you would think that governments also have an incentive to include digital methods as part of their regulations, right? So we'll see a lot of these digital processes come under regulation.
Yeah. I mean, it has already. If you look at Europe, let's say, for example, they have
the GDPR.
They're very strictly imposed GDPR. And if you're GDPR,
which is the General Data Protection Regulations.
Yes. Although those are more geared towards personal data, as far as I can understand. So they're more caring about whether the personal data of individuals are being handled by corporations or companies. But when the financial industry or any other industry does make this shift, that big jump that I'm talking about, like a complete overhaul of how things are arranged, then governments will definitely go into that mode where they have more stringent regulations of what can be done and what cannot be done. And we'll be surprised, even in Bangladesh, we do have a blockchain white paper that was published in 2020.
Yes.
And Bangladesh government already took that step, right?
Yeah.
To sort of define like how you can use blockchain technology and what should be the standards for using those.
Right.
So yeah, I do think that the world is definitely going in that direction.
Right. That's brilliant.
And definitely for the financial service industry is supremely exciting, as I was saying. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me for coffee. This was very interesting. I actually learned a lot. So
thank you, Shaer, for inviting me again. Thanks a lot.